Hey, this is Tilo here. I'm talking about dyslexia. So I'm going to be doing this video in two parts because, and I may, if depending on feedback, come out with additional parts because dyslexia is relatively complicated. I would know. I'm dyslexic, and in the spectrum, I'm pretty highly dyslexic. There wasn't the learning about dyslexia when I was young, so some of what I'm going to be telling you is a little bit outdated as far as from personal experiences, but I can tell you it is unfortunately something something you can overcome, but it is a detriment. I mean, you can try to spin a positive way on it, but there's certain things that you can do understanding dyslexia and with dyslexia to really excel. For me, in my early years, I had a lot of trouble in school. I actually was in special ed up until, I believe, 5th grade, and then I was able to mainstream it, mainly through hard work, but was able to overcome it. I did graduate from college, actually Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. I graduated with honors. Thought I was done with school after working a few years, learned that I needed to go back to school, and actually got my MBA at night school at USC and graduated with a 3.8. So there were a lot of tricks I learned along the way that I can share with you in videos because there's certain ways having dyslexia that you really need to canoe downstream, and you can use it to your advantage because you'll also find that you have certain strengths and certain weaknesses. Now, what I'm going to talk about a little bit is what is dyslexia, because a lot of people think dyslexia is the inability, upside down A's or C's. We write a little bit funny a lot of times. Understanding left to right is a difficulty. Foreign languages are a difficulty. So there's all these symptoms, and that's purely the symptoms. But actually what dyslexia is it's basically within the brain, but it's really decoding and reading and processing language. So what we have is we have an issue with language. So what you're going to find if you're dyslexic is you're not very good in English, and you're not going to be very good in foreign language. There's also going to be other things. You'll have trouble remembering people's names for whatever reason. Left to right. But again, I'm going to cover it in the second video as far as tricks to get around these things, or what to do to really excel in life, or what's worked for me. Also, we'll try to spell phonetically, and we'll have trouble with spelling. I mean, spell check has been an absolute godsend for me. But I have to turn it on my emails, and again, you develop different ways of learning how to do things, and you'll develop a alternative vocabulary where sometimes the more difficult vocabulary words are actually easier to spell. So you'll find yourself, especially in writing notes, doing these things. But again, dyslexia, it's not easy. It's going to take more work, especially in reading. It's going to take more work in spelling, but mathematics, at least for me, high-level mathematics come much easier than for other people. Philosophy and argumentative reasoning was something that just came to me very easily, and really I worked very hard to bypass all my English classes that I possibly could in general ed. To go there. So again, that's dyslexia. So there's some bad news to it, and I know people try to spin, the positive that, there are a lot of successful dyslexics out there. But, and I've had a lot of VP titles. I've managed large sales forces. I've done some marketing creativeness as well as excels and data management that have proven to be very effective, because we tend to look at things a little bit differently than other people. But by the same token, there's a lot of things that are difficult about it. There's a lot of things that it's wise not to tell everybody that you're a dyslexic, particularly in a work setting, which I'll talk about in the second video. But there's workarounds on it, and one way or another, if you have dyslexia, if you don't, that's good news for you. If you do, I believe you would get diagnosed by an educational psychologist that would be able to give the tests and tell you where you land in the spectrum. They'll also be able to give you some strategies outside what I'm going to tell you, because my strategies are a little more on the street smart side. They're not going to be what an educational psychologist would advocate, but they do work. And I've also talked to other people over the years that I've learned that were successful, that are dyslexic. They've also had their own workarounds. So anyway, hopefully this video will help you out, and I'm going to come up with part 2.